Hello and welcome to this very special presentation. Special because we will be talking about a special cricketer, but more importantly, a very special human being. His name is Mohammed Siraj. The Indian pacer skittled through the Lankan batting order yesterday in the final of the Asia Cup and created history, not just for himself, but for the country. Siraj became the first Indian bowler to take 4 wickets in an over in men's international. He is the joint fastest to take 5 wickets in a match. It just took him 16 balls, by the way. But most importantly, his performance helped India win the Asia Cup for a record 8th time. It was a fairy tale performance, but this fairy tale comes with years of hard work, perseverance, and a never say die attitude. Well, to talk about that performance, that historic performance, I'm joined by Prakash Wakankar, BBC commentator, and Anish Sarjan, cricket analyst. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Prakash Wakankar, let me start by asking you about that performance. We have seen some amazing performance over the years, but yesterday was it was something out of the world. Where do you rank Siraj's performance?
You know, I hope I'm not taking the thunder away from your story, but for me, the performance came after the game, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But as far as performance with ball in the hand is concerned, there is no question. I mean, look, there are times when you're on song and you need it to become a perfect storm almost to be able to deliver something like that. And you can only do it when you've been trying to do the same thing day in and day out. On some day it will work, many days it will not. But what was remarkable for me was how grounded he appeared both in the mid-innings interview as well as later on. And even during the game, enthusiasm and his sort of exuberance was visible. But the fact of the matter is, he is who he is. He's a game trier. He comes from where he has come and knows what he has achieved through the sheer dint of hard work. And therefore, he acknowledges what he receives, as he said, from up above and all his teammates.
That is absolutely correct. From up above and for all his teammates. You were talking about what happened after the match. Can you elaborate on that? We are talking about this beautiful gesture that he showed after the match, and
yes.
it basically tells you how grounded this person is, how grounded this human being is. Forget about the cricketer that he is. We all know the kind of amazing things that he has been doing on the field. But that gesture speaks a lot from where he comes from.
It does. And I think, you know, I hope this doesn't get misunderstood in any way. I think there's an old saying, right, that you only feel the heat if you've actually sat out in there.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, given his background, given where he came from, given how his father toiled and his family toiled to make him be able to play cricket, to get where he has, I think that has probably, and I'm guessing, instilled in him the basic principle of dignity of labor.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who's followed the Asia Cup, or for that matter, cricket in Sri Lanka in particular, because there's no automation, it's all manual hard work. The groundsmen are actually absolute superhumans, if you ask me.
Absolutely.
How they
especially in this tournament.
Especially in this, yes. In this particular tournament, I think if somebody made a graphic of how many times the covers came on and off, that might be a higher strike rate than anything else. It's been absolutely marvelous. And for him to donate, it's not the money. I mean, somebody will say, what's $5,000 for an international Indian cricket?
Yeah.
Nothing. It is the gesture. It reminds me of what Pat Cummins did, if you remember, here in India during the IPL at COVID time. He was the first to donate money. And then a lot of other players did the same and helped in other ways. But I think these are very personal calls. I don't think anybody can take them for you. You do them, you make those decisions if you feel it. And Siraj, for what little I know of the young man, has a heart of gold, and long may it remain.
And this personality comes from the fact that he has seen so much over the years. And we all know what happened during the COVID time when he was picked for Australia. And right before that test match, we could see those emotions coming out when he was crying when the national anthem was playing. Give us a sense of what that loss meant to him, and How did that loss shape his career?
It's a very unfair question, as I'm sure you can imagine, because for me to give you a sense of what that young man felt is virtually impossible. I think it's impossible for anybody.
Yeah.
But if I were to sort of interpret, and if I was to look at some of the interactions I've had the pleasure of having with him, I can tell you that for him, I think his family, his father in particular, must have meant the world.
Yeah.
Because, as you rightly said, that day you could see it on his face. You could also see it the moment he had returned to Hyderabad. The first thing he did, obviously, was to go and pay his respects at his father's grave. He talked about his father more and more as he's gone on.
Yeah.
He's talked about his family. Accolades have come pouring to him through that period. But I think what has been lovely about this young lad is that he has, as you use the word, stayed grounded. He's comfortable in his own skin. And I think that is important. The ability and the comfort, not the ability, the comfort to feel okay, to remain who you are. Whether it is language, whether it is culture, whether it is the way you behave. I think there is no reason to try and be something you're not. And I think Siraj so far has always shown that he is what he is. Right. Virat Kohli's mentorship at RCB and later on in the India team, I think has played a big role. He seems to be a very willing learner.
Right.
And I think Shami and Bumrah are very, very apt role models for him. So hopefully he'll learn from them and most importantly, stay injury fit. But this boy is a gem on and off the cricket field.
Oh, absolutely. We are also joined by Anish Sajan. Anish Sajan, we have talked about his journey, Siraj's journey, where he comes from, what he has been doing over the years. But we also have to talk about that menacing fourth over from yesterday. What was your favorite wicket of Mohammed Siraj from yesterday?
Well, all the wickets were good, but to knock off the captain Dhanuka Shanaka, that was with a peach of a delivery.
Yeah.
And also then he clean bowled the said batsman, but that was through a rash shot. But to be very honest, all his deliveries were good. They were wicket-taking deliveries. As I said yesterday to somebody that he was bowling test match channel lines and lengths, and that is what helped him. And, we've come a long way from what he was in the Adelaide when he made his debut 3 years ago. And today what we see is a different bowler, absolutely.
One final question from you, Prakash Wakankar. What does this performance do to his confidence, especially when India is leading into the World Cup now?
Well, his confidence sky high, no question. I mean, he's going to be now, if he ever needed any justification to believe that he can lead this attack, then he has it. He knows there's Bumrah. He knows there's Shami. There's Hardik. The fact of the matter is I don't think he needed any affirmation, but I think he's put that behind him. Okay, ho gaya, chalo. Done. Now I'll go forward and look for the next one. Like he talked about the Trivandrum story, right? Yeah. He said, I had got 4. I wanted the 5th. I couldn't. It didn't happen. And what Rohit said later, that the physio actually had to suggest, now please don't bowl him another over. He's bowled 6 on the trot or 7 on the trot. Let's not burn him out. You see, that's the important thing. To also understand what the skipper is saying to you, why he's saying, and to believe that destiny overrules everything. Who can know it better than Mohammed Siraj?
That's very well said, sir. I think Siraj's story is, it's not just about his rise to cricketing stardom, but that of his undying spirit and his unwavering belief in his dreams. Thank you both for joining us on this special broadcast. We'll slip into a short break. News continues on the other side.